Welcome to today's video on horizontal and vertical transformations on functions. So we're going to start out by talking about what the putting a number into the parentheses here into the function will do to that specific function. So notice we have graph of f of x equals x minus 3 to the third. The first thing you want to do is identify what function this is. This is the cubing function. It's normally f of x equals x to the third, but notice inside the function, in the parentheses, they subtracted 3. Now we're going to learn how this minus 3 works, but let's say you didn't know. Let's say you just made a table. And you put in 0, 1, 2, and then put -1, and actually let's do just positive numbers, like like 3, 4, and 5. Put 0 in. 0 minus 3 is -3, cubed is -27. 1 minus 3 is -2, cubed is -8. 2 minus 3 is -1, cubed is still -1. 3 minus 3 is 0, cubed is 0. 4 minus 1 is 3, or sorry, 4 minus 3 is 1, cubed is 1. And 5 minus 3 is 2, cubed is 8. The original f of x equals x to the third, this one here, remember the points are 0, 0, 1, 1, and then 2, 8. And then it's -1, -1, and -2, -8. So the original function looks like this. Notice this new version, when I subtracted 3, this new version, well, you have 0 and -27, which is way down here. But you have 1 and -8. 1 and -8 is right here. You have 2 and -1. Oh, that's not -1, that's +1. 2 and -1, which is right here. 3 and 0. 4 and 1. And then 5 and 8. So notice the new version is right there. So notice what happened here is everything got shifted to the right 3 units. So any time that you subtract inside the function, basically you take the original function and you shift to the right that many units. And just the opposite, if you were to add inside the function, you take the original function and shift to the left that many units. So let's try this again. We have f of x equals x minus 3 squared. So remember, the base function is f of x equals x squared. That's our base function. So basically, normally it would be 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 4, and -2, 4. So those would be our normal points. Now, because we are a minus inside, we have a shift horizontally to the right 3 units. So what I'm going to do after I figure that out is I'm going to make a chart. So basically, the original points that I used were 0, 0. I used negative 1, 1. And I used 1, 1. I won't do the other one. I'll just use 3 points for the chart. Basically, with the x, I moved it to the right, so I'm adding 3. Anytime I go to the right, that's a positive direction. And then I want to figure out what happened to my y. So I take the x coordinate here, 0. So that means 0 plus 3 is 3. And then y is 0. So it's basically the point is 3, 0. I add 3 to negative 1 and I get 2. And then the y coordinate stays the same. Then I add 3 to 1, so that gives me 4. And the y coordinate stays the same. So those are my new points. So if you notice, here you go now to 3, 0. And then you have 2, 1. And you have 4, 1. And there are my new points right there. Notice, compared to the original one, everything is shifted to the right 3. All right, try again. This time, we're using the square root function. That's our base. And remember the points on the square root function. You have 0, 0, you have 1, 1, and you have 4, 2. Those are the points on the square root function. Now, because it's minus 3 here, you're doing a horizontal shift, meaning it's going side to side, to the right 3. So when we make our chart, we'll start with the points 0, 0, 1, 1, and 4, 2. Then we add 3 because we're going to the right, and then we have our y coordinate. So when we add 3 to x, we get 3, 0. Our y coordinate stays the same, so we're still at 3, 0. We add 3 to x, we get 4, 1, and our y coordinate stays the same. Add 3 to x, we get 7, 2, and our y coordinate stays the same. So those are our new points after we transformed it. So we start at 3, 0, we have 4, 1, and then we have 5, 6, 7, 2. And there's our new graph. Notice it's shifted to the right 3 units. All right, the next one, notice this 3 is outside the function, meaning it's not inside the function. This is the exponential function, so if it's inside, it would be in the exponent, but it's not. So the base function here is f of x equals e to the x. So remember, f of x equals e to the x, you have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. You have a point 0, 1, and you have a point about 1e. And there's your exponential function, f of x equals e to the x. Now the transformation here is a vertical. Because it's outside the function, we're going to go vertical. So it's a vertical shift. It's a vertical shift up 3 units because it's positive. So when we make a chart, remember vertical affects the y. So when you make a chart of the points that you graphed, well, you graphed 0, 1, you graphed 1e, and then you graphed the horizontal asymptote. at y equals 0. Those are three things that you graphed. Now, the x doesn't change because you have no horizontal shift, and the y is going up 3, so you add 3. So you have 0, 1, but then you add 3, so now it's 0, 4. The x stays the same, and then the y you add 3, so that's e plus 3. And remember, e is approximately 2.718, so if you add 3 to that, it's going to give you about 5.718. Horizontal asymptote at y equals 0, well, you're adding 3 to every y, so now the horizontal asymptote is at y equals 3. So when you sketch the graph, you need to put your horizontal asymptote at y equals 3. Then your first point is at 0, 4, and then at 1 and 5.7, so it's like that. And then when you draw your graph, your J curve has now moved up 3 units. So when you're talking about vertical shifts, this is where the number is being added or subtracted outside of the function. So this is a vertical shift up 2 when you add 2 to the function, or add whatever units to the function. And if you subtract, it's a vertical shift down. Wrong one. Okay. So, the last problem here, we have a combination. We have both a number inside the function and outside. So the base function here is f of x equals x squared. So notice it's a parabola. Our points are 0, 0, 1, 1, negative 1, negative, and positive 1. The transformation's in the correct order. Remember, horizontal is done first, then vertical, because x comes before y. So first you have a horizontal shift. Since it's minus 3, it goes to the right 3. And then next you have a vertical shift, and since it's plus 3, it's going up 3. Then you want to make a chart. So remember, your original points are 0, 0, 1, 1, negative 1, 1. You're adding 3 to the x because you're going to the right, and you're adding 3 to the y because you're going up. So that means you have 3, 0 when you add, and then 3, 3 when you add to the y. 1 plus 3 is 4, and then when you add 3 to the y, you also get 4. And then here, adding 3 gives you positive 2. And then adding 3 to the y gives you positive 4. So these are the new points that you're going to plot. You're going to go to 3, 3, 4, 4, and 2, 4, and now you have your parabola. There are your new points. All right, I hope this video has been helpful, and I will see you tomorrow in class. Don't forget to study the basic functions for the quiz.